Now in lesson 4.5, we're going to look at balancing our budget. So what does balancing the budget mean? Well, really what it means is that we have income coming in and we have expenses that we have to pay for, and then we also have money that we set aside for savings. So as you can see here, I'm trying to balance my income with what I'm paying out or setting aside for savings. And the more expenses that I have, the farther away my savings will be from my income. So if my expenses were smaller, I would have more money to put to savings. If my expenses are larger, I have less money to put to savings. And the Bible also gives us some advice on this as well. It says in Luke 12:15, "And he said unto them, Take heed, and beware of covetousness. For a man's life consisteth not in the abundance of the things which he possesseth." So what that's really telling us is that we can want different things, and there's nothing wrong with our wants, but we need to be really mindful and careful that we don't want too many things, because the important things of this life are not found in the things that we want. The important things of this life are going to be found outside of what we own. So when we're setting up our balanced budget, we need to be really mindful that we estimate our income accurately, and that the income that we estimate can support how much money we set aside for savings, and that it can support our current spending practices and our goals. And so I had mentioned this in a previous lesson. It says orders to consider. First, you want to give to God. That would be your 10% that you're giving to God. The next thing you want to do is save money for emergencies. After you've saved your money, you want to consider what your needs are. And those can be adjustable a bit, I would say, that when you're looking at your needs, you have some control over that. Your needs should take into consideration how much money you have. So for example, we're going to start looking at housing and expenses that you would have as an adult. And you can choose what house you live in. It doesn't have to be the most expensive one. You get to choose what type of car you drive. Those are things that you may need, but you do have some control over the ones that you invest in. And then finally, after that, you can adjust your budget for the things that you want and other goals that you have. So we're going to see one main practice problem overall, but we're going to make some adjustments with it. So the first thing we want to do is establish and balance the following budget on a monthly basis. So here we've been given information on an annual basis. So we know what our annual income is, and then we have these annual expenses. Some are given by percentage, and some of them are given in dollar format. So we need to create our monthly budget using these numbers. So over here, I've got my annual income. It says that it's $7,200. So in order to get this on a monthly basis, I'm going to divide that by 12. And when I do, that gives me $6,000. Underneath that, I have expenses that I have to pay for. So the first one I have is a tithe. That's 10%. I'm going to take this $600 or $6,000 and multiply it by 10%, and that gives me $600. Same for my savings account. This is kind of for emergencies I may have. And then I've added an account here for retirement. So before I had said in previous slides you should save 20% of your income. Maybe 10% of that is kind of for emergency natures, then the other 10% is going to be for long-term needs. So a retirement would be a long-term savings plan that you would have to live off of once you retire. Now underneath that, you'll see that I've started having dollar amounts. So over here I've got housing I've set aside that I think I'm going to need to spend $8,400 on my house. That could include home repairs, that could include your mortgage, that might include your insurance for your home. Regardless, that's the amount I've set. And again, this is something you need, but you get to choose your house. So this might be a low amount for some, and it might be a high amount for others. So if I take $8,400 and I divide it by 12, that gives me $700. The utilities I've set aside, I think that I'm going to need to spend $2,400 on utilities, and that's going to be $200 a month. Now, just to kind of mention, whatever house you get, your utilities are going to be bound by the housing that you have. So some houses are more efficient with their usage of gas and electric, and some houses are not. So your utilities really are bound up in the house that you choose. Food. To determine your food budget, you're going to take the $12,000, divide it by 12, and that's going to give me $1,000 a month. And while food is a need, you get to choose where you go shopping. You get to choose whether you get name brand or whether you use a coupon. So with food, it is a need, but this is how much they're budgeting and thinking that's how much they'll need to spend. Transportation, I've got budgeted for $4,800 a year. If I divide that by 12, that gives me $400 a month, and that would include things like gas and your insurance and maybe your auto repairs. Clothing, estimated at $3,600 a year, divided by 12 gives me $300 a month. Outside activities, I'll divide that by 12, and that's going to give me $1,500 a month, or $150 a month. Vacation, I'm estimating I'm going to go on a vacation this year and it'll cost $3,600. Divide that by 12, that's going to be $300. And then for miscellaneous stuff, just kind of fun things, $2,400 a year divided by 12 means setting aside $200 a month. And then finally, we've got this category that says that 20% of his income taxes is going to be, he has to pay 20% of his income to taxes. So if I take $600 or $6,000 and I multiply it by 20%, that is going to give me taxes of $1,200. Now that may seem like a lot, but it's actually not a lot of money for taxes. Many families pay anywhere between 30 to 10% to 30% of their income straight to taxes. So now I need to add all of these expenses up here. If I add all of these up to get my total expenses, that's going to give me $6,250. Now I have a little bit of a problem because I've actually gone under by $250. My parentheses are actually negative in accounting terms. So 6,000 minus 6,250 says that I've over budgeted by $250. So now I need to look at my budget and say, where can I take money from for the month? What kinds of things can I adjust? Can I adjust my tithe? No. Say no. Can I adjust my savings? No, I don't want to adjust my savings. Do I want to adjust retirement? No. Housing's probably set and the utilities go with it. Can I adjust my transportation? Probably not. I've already got the car. Food. Can I adjust food? Well, that depends on your food. Are you buying name brand only? Are you going to the most expensive grocery store? If you are, you could adjust food. If you're not, you probably cannot adjust your food. Can you adjust taxes? No. I would say the areas you're going to look to adjust are going to be these areas right here. And you would need to take money out of that. So clothing, maybe you can adjust it, maybe you can't. I know in my family, $300 a month for clothing would actually be a little bit high. I probably could take some of that out. With the activities, I probably could take some of that out as well. That's kind of fun stuff. My miscellaneous, I could take some of that out as well. So with these categories here, this you would want to reduce by $250. I'm not going to do that in this video, but you can actually decide how to reduce that on your own. All right, now the next question I have here is it says use the previous unbalanced numbers and see if you need to adjust the budget, basically if his income increased by 10%. So this number goes up by 10%. So if I take 6,000 times 10%, that's $600, and that means that my new monthly income is going to be $660. Now the first thing I know you're thinking is, oh, well my income went up by $600. That's more than this $250. That should cover it, right? Well, there's a few other things that are going to also increase by 10%. So my tithe is going to go up by 10%. My savings is going to go up by 10%. And my retirement is going to go up by 10% automatically because each one of these are based on 10% of 600. They're not an actual dollar amount. So each one of these is going to change to 660. Every single one of these will change. So right now I've already got plus 60, plus 60, plus $60 right here. The other item that was based on a percentage is taxes. So this is also going to go up by 10%. So if I add 10% of this to the new amount, that'd be $1,200 plus $120. That gives me $1,320 is my new amount. Now, the rest of these are static numbers. That means that they're not going to change. My housing didn't change. I still have the same bill that I had. It didn't matter that my income went up. My utilities aren't going to change. I'm still in that house. My food is probably not going to change because I already know how much money I'm going to spend on food. My car won't change if I keep the same for my clothing budget. My activities may change if I feel like it, but they don't have to. My vacation doesn't change and my miscellaneous doesn't change. So my income going up, I may want to spend more money in some of these categories, but I'm not required to spend more money. Whereas taxes, retirement, savings, and tithe, I am required to spend more money in those categories. So in this case, I'm going to go on ahead and add up all of my expenses again. And now when I add up my expenses, it gives me $65.50. So to determine if I'm over or under budget, I can take my $6,600, I can subtract off the $65.50, and now I have $50 left over. So in this case, if my income did go up by 10%, that doesn't mean I have an extra $600, but it does mean in this case that I do not need to adjust my budget because I will have a little bit left over.